teachers abroad. First up, a look at our top headlines.
Presented by Royal Global University. Northeast can't wait. Pado kuch bano.
जब तक चुनाव नहीं होता, अरविंद केजरीवाल जी ने भरोसा कर मुझ पे ये जिम्मेदारी दी है और आने वाले कुछ महीने तक जब तक ये जिम्मेदारी मेरे पास है.
Aam Aadmi Party's big poll move. Kejriwal steps down as Delhi Chief Minister. Atishi takes over the Chief Minister post. Forced to act. Mamta removes Vineet Goyal. Manoj Verma appointed as new Kolkata Police Commissioner.
सौ दिन में लगभग 15 लाख करोड़ रुपए की परियोजनाओं को चालू किया गया है.
100 days of Modi 3.0 government. Union ministers list government's achievements and milestones. On bulldozer justice, the Supreme Court directed no demolition should take place in the country without its permission. And Prime Minister Modi defends participation in Ganesh Puja hosted by the Chief Justice of India, says Congress and its ecosystem are rattled.
Presented by Royal Global University. Northeast can't wait. Pado kuch bano.
Good evening, and you're watching. This is exclusive with me, Riddhumanand Bhardwaj. Viewers, our top focus is going to be on the 100 days of the Modi Complete 3.0 and what they've been doing. We speak to union ministers. Here's first a look at what Union Minister Kiren Rijiju told us.
The other big issue that I wanted to perhaps put the focus on, and perhaps it's also a good time to elaborate on it, because there has been a lot of fear-mongering that has happened. On 5th of August, there was a huge speculation that was doing the rounds that yet again, this government is going to come up with a big reform. The Waqf bill, it's a critical bill that was supposed to be introduced. For the first time in 10 years, Minister Rijiju, we're looking at a critical bill like this going to the JPC. Two arguments to that. One, from your understanding, the need to bring it now, which you've said in the past that it is already too late, it should have come in much earlier. The second is, if you had to explain it to the public, those who are watching your interview today, why the need for Waqf? Why does the nation really need it at this juncture?
See, first of all, I have heard people saying, including the journalists, that Waqf boards in India, they own the third largest properties next to defense railways. But that is actually incorrect. The thousands of kilometers of railway tracks and railway platforms and all, these are national property. People of India use the railway tracks and all. How can you compare with the Waqf properties? Thousands and thousands of kilometers of railway lines are government properties. People use it. And thousands acres of lands where defense personnel, the Indian Army, the Air Force, the Navy, they use the land to defend the country. This is not private property. How can you compare the defense and railway property with the Waqf property? Waqf property is managed by the boards and they are donated by the individuals. So actually the Waqf property in India is the largest in the world. Then Sachar committee and Rahman Khan committee and these people said that the Muslims are poor, majority of the Muslims are poor. Then the Waqf board own the largest property in the world. Why can't these properties be used for the poor Muslims, for women, for the children, for the weaker section amongst the Muslims? Why are they not getting benefit out of this property?
Do you believe there has been a large-scale corruption? Because some of the reports that we have also gone through and the endeavor that we have made as a journalist also is to actually see the functioning of the board itself. You have also been criticized by saying that the change that you have brought in the bill is to basically take over, seize control of the board. How do you really respond
It's
to
not
the fact that you brought
actually
in
the
these changes?
control of the board, that is secondary. The boards must be managed through a proper mechanism. That is one of the way to make the work properties being managed in a proper scientific manner. This is what such a committee said, broad-based work boards. Reform the tribunal. Let those people who are managing the work properties be accountable. The Sachar committee also said that the litigations which are actually eating up the work board itself should be handled in a more efficient manner. There should be transparency in the work property management. There should be proper oversight, monitoring. So many things are recommended by those committees appointed during the Congress time. Yes. We are implementing it. So, if we want that work board should be managed in a much more broad-based scientific manner, everybody should welcome it.
Do you believe the recent visit of Rahul Gandhi to the United States of America, meeting with Ilhan Omar, then you have various statements that he has made about the Sikh community. Do you believe this is with a particular agenda, and that agenda is also looking at those who have been operating from outside India, egging Rahul Gandhi to carry on with their divisive politics within the country? Do you believe there is a larger play, larger game?
If you have seen the pattern, there is a systematic method, a pattern being developed and practiced and being used over and over again by this anti-India group, the so-called left and this anti-India group. They will pick up a person, make that person hero, and let him speak, and they will put across his statement as a narrative.
But has it been amplified in this term? Because I'm just looking at a larger pattern. 18 train derailments that have taken place. The ministry has also indicated that there is a larger conspiracy. Then, for instance, a few days ago, Mr. Rijiju, we have done a report coming in from Manipur that the foreign hand cannot be exactly ruled out after the drone attacks that have taken place, rockets that were fired in Manipur. Then, of course, you come to your ministry where the Waqf bill particularly has been targeted in a systematic manner. If you put this entire thing, the larger picture that emerges, is the third term of the Modi government being especially targeted, hoping that this is a coalition government may not be able to run?
No, they can't succeed. People of India are with Modi ji and the government. It's only the misguided people who are working against the interests of the country. So let me be very clear. Now Rahul Gandhi and his associates, they are trying to weaken the country, destroy the country, and blame it on Modi. And they want to come to power that way. They won't succeed. How will you come to power by destroying the country? Tell me. Never before any person, any political leader had gone to foreign countries and abused India the manner in which Rahul Gandhi is doing it. Today, Rahul Gandhi is just a mouthpiece of this ecosystem. They propped up Rahul Gandhi, like people like John Soros and all these people. They will prop up people like Rahul Gandhi as their spokesperson. They will create platform for people like Rahul Gandhi.
So that's a reality you are saying?
Yes, it is being practiced now.
Thank you for joining us on this special broadcast. I have with us as the Modi government, the Modi third government, Modi 3.0 completes 100 days in office, and coincidentally on a day when it's also the Prime Minister's birthday, I have Union Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia. He's the Minister of Communications, he's the Telecom Minister in India, and he's joining us on the government's first 100 days. Mr. Scindia, good evening from Bengaluru and the team here at Republic. The first 100 days of the third Modi government, Mr. Scindia. What are the big headlines for you?
Well, firstly, Niranjan, the third term will be a historical term under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi. He has very clearly articulated to the people of India that this third term will certainly involve much more effort, much more result-oriented government, and with a vision that higher goals will result in higher performance and a higher impact. And with that frame of mind, the work has already started and is underway. It is our resolve that government has to be transformative, which is what Prime Minister Modi has very clearly outlined. And transformative means you must start from the get-go. The last 100 days have been a hallmark in terms of development and progress across the spectrum of activity of government that you see. If you look at the empowerment of women, where on the one hand, close to about 11 lakh more women have become Lakpati Didis. At the same time, the budget has enshrined in it close to a 3 lakh crore allotment for our women across the length and breadth of our country. Mudra loans have been increased from 10 lakhs to 20 lakhs. When you look at the sector of making sure that you bring about social change and social development through the PM Janamana Yojana, close to about 406 new universities in terms of Eklavya Vidyalayas have been set up, which have almost enrolled close to about 1.23 lakh new students. And along with that, under the PM Janamana Yojana, close to 112 aspirational districts and close to 500 aspirational blocks, full saturation across 11 segments have already taken place. Along with that, the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, our resolve of building 3 crore new more houses in the next 5 years. The budget allocation through the cabinet has already been put in place for 1 crore urban houses and 2 crore rural houses at close to about 3.5 lakh crores in terms of a budget allocation. For the youth, new paradigms have taken root, where youth will be given internships across companies across India. Along with that, close to about 4 crore new youth will be trained through vocational training in 1,000 new industrial centers. And along with that, really developing India's nodes for tomorrow, industrial and manufacturing nodes for tomorrow. Close to about 12 nodes have been chosen. This year has seen the highest capex been allocated, close to about 11.11 lakh crore, which has never been seen before. And the repercussions of that have been seen in infrastructure. Road, rail, surface transport, airways have been allocated almost 3 lakh crores in the budget. Close to 8 new highway sections costing 50,000 crores have been given approval. 8 new railway sections costing 24,000 crores have been given approval. 15 new Vande Bharat trains have been already flagged off. And close to about 50,000 crores under the Pradhan Mantri Gramin Sadak Yojana to close to 25,000 villages being given access by roads. Almost 62,000 kilometers has already been allocated. Along with that, if you look at making sure that every part of society is well looked after, the tax break being increased from 50,000 rupees to 75,000 rupees of tax break, with a 7 lakh no taxation initiative for income being put in place. Along with that, the new UPS scheme, which will affect almost 23 lakh government servants and benefit them with almost about 50% determined pension. And along with that, anyone who's 70 years older and above will also be included in the Ayushman Bharat Bima Yojana, which will cover almost 6 crore of our elderly people across the length and breadth of our country. Farmers too have been given tremendous initiatives and incentives in the last 100 days, whether it's the unveiling of 109 new hybrid varieties of seeds, whether it is the PM Kisan Samman Yojana, where close to 20,000 crores has been given to almost about 9 crore farmers, whether it is through new schemes of Government of India, where close to about, for the Polavaram scheme, for example, on irrigation, where close to about 12,000 crores has been allocated. So across the length and breadth of government, there have been tremendous initiatives that have taken place in the last 100 days.
Mr. Scindia, I'm sitting here in Bengaluru and in Karnataka. I can tell you, when we run a channel here called Republic Kannada, and when we interact with people, and we have several shows which directly interface with people from the length and breadth of Karnataka, for example. And when you speak to the people, there are two narratives of politics here in Karnataka. I'll tell you. One is, of course, people believe in the leadership of Prime Minister Modi. They know that he's the strongest leader. And all that you've listed now at the grassroots level, it has made a difference. I would say that because people talk about gas connections, people talk about free housing, and recently you had the insurance scheme for all senior citizens. There is one aspect of what people talk about when it comes to governance. The second aspect is the guarantees which are given by the state government. Of course, the state government itself is broke. There is no money for anything else when you bring in guarantees or give free schemes to people. So how do you strike a balance? When in the government, how do you strike a balance between the both, Mr. Scindia?
Well, what's very important, Niranjan, is you have to have a equanimity between, on the one hand, powering India forward, and therefore looking at high rates of economic growth, such as what Prime Minister Modi's government has delivered in the last financial year, almost 8.2% economic growth rate. And the compounding of that growth is what really transforms India. On the other hand, it is also extremely important to bring the disadvantaged and the economically weaker sections into the paradigm of opportunity, so that they can also contribute to the cause of nation building. If indeed our goal is to create a Viksit Bharat by 2047, then all hands need to be on deck, which means all 140 crore of us need to participate in that exercise. And therefore the emergent need is also to make sure that you proliferate these avenues of opportunity right down to the grassroots level. And therefore the Prime Minister's resolve, which has resulted in close to 25 crore people being lifted out of poverty over the last decade. In the last 75 years, you have never seen this sort of a transformation. And much of it comes from the opportunities that have been given at the grassroots level. And that's the transformation that India requires today. So on the one hand, it is to power economic growth, and the other hand, it is to bring people into the economic mainstream that will truly transform India. Now, the vicious circle and the irony is that those governments that have promised the OPS, the old pension scheme, many guarantees that were given in the Karnataka local election and the Vidhan Sabha election, the Himachal Vidhan Sabha election, have not seen the light of day. Here you are seeing within the first 100 days of the third term of Prime Minister Modi, what has been promised has been delivered. And therefore you see the difference between truth of promises and conversion into action, and those that only say things on election day, whether it is the leadership of the Congress party or other political parties, which never sees the light of day, and therefore the hypocrisy of these parties comes to light when in comparison with the central government under Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
you spoke of, and whenever you or any minister like you, or including the Prime Minister, you've been at our summits. The Prime Minister has been at each of our Republic summits, and when he speaks, I still remember this year, just before the elections, he was there and he spoke of numbers. He gave us numbers of how much of money was going into infrastructure projects. Back then, when he attended the event in April, he spoke of how 1 lakh crore projects had just been sanctioned in the span of about 10 days. Now, if you go through the numbers, I'm not going to once contest the fact that money is being pushed into infra building, which is also amounting to nation building, because you're building cities, you're building towns, essentially. Now, what I also find fascinating, and maybe a welcome change, if I can call it that, is Mr. Scindia. It's perhaps the first time in the three governments, in Modi 1.0, Modi 2.0, Modi 3.0, we didn't see senior ministers being fielded on 100 days. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. But it also tells you effectively, in an age where social media political campaigns can drown anything, it's important to communicate. It's important to also tell people, remind people of what you have done. Is my reading correct?
Niranjan, you're absolutely right. And let me say this, that even in my last stint as Minister of Civil Aviation and Steel, I did report back to all of you and through all of you to the people of India in terms of the targets that had been set by the Prime Minister for our department and what we had achieved in the first 100 days. So I think the accountability standards that the Prime Minister has set for each of his departments and for his government as a whole, in the whole of government approach, I think on its own stands out as an outlier in terms of any other government that has been in power in India over the last 75 years. He has always held each of us accountable for our targets. He has held himself accountable. And when a leader holds himself accountable, then the trust of the people in that leader grows manifold when delivery happens, when action happens on the ground. And that is the difference between a NDA-led government of Prime Minister Modi and the opposition parties that mouth tremendous voices and tremendous promises, but actual delivery is yet to be seen on the ground. And there's a great chasm between what is committed and what actually is delivered. So on the one hand, you have a leader that undercommits and over-delivers, and on the other hand you have opposition parties that overcommit and underdeliver. And very clearly the verdict of the people of India is in the favor of Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Very interesting. My last question to you, Mr. Scindia. You know, this third Modi government, of course, you have majority in the government, and there are many who question the fact that the BJP on its own was not able to cross the majority mark. But to all those critics who talk about the dangers of coalition politics, of course, I don't have to explain that, because you have been in another party, in another government in the past, and you may know what coalition politics pressure would be like, having worked there. But is there any coalition politics pressure on the current Prime Minister, or is he just determined to take India to its greatest height?
The NDA is comprised of a group of parties and people that are committed in their resolve only to one thing: the growth of India, the betterment of India, the transformation of India into Viksit Bharat and Atmanirbhar Desh. And in that sankalp, each and every constituent of the NDA is committed to that goal and to the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So this government and this coalition government and this NDA will ensure that our principles, our morals and our goals are actually all turn into reality. And the government speaks, and every constituent of this NDA speaks in one voice towards that goal.
Mr. Scindia, thank you for speaking to Republic TV as the Modi third government turns 100 days old. And it was interesting to hear from you. Look forward to perhaps catching up with you again for a longer conversation, perhaps. Mr. Scindia, thank you very much for this evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As the Modi government completes 100 days, it faces another set of challenges. And perhaps a challenging role this time has been given to Union Minister Kiren Rijiju. Mr. Rijiju, thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast. Let me straight away begin by asking you, this hasn't been the easiest 100 days for the Prime Minister and his government. To begin with, of course, the big challenge of managing the opposition. Do you believe this has been one of the hardest tasks that you have been given, to manage the opposition, particularly on the floor of the parliament?
Not really. We don't have to manage opposition because opposition party is already completely dysfunctional. The opposition party which we have in present time, they are not responsible people. They don't function as an effective, responsible opposition party. So anyway, let opposition party be whatever they are. Our focus is on governance. We are not bothered about what opposition plays with. In the last 100 days of Modi's third term, we have been able to achieve historical milestones. In the past, we have seen so many governments have come. What Modi's third term achieved in first 100 days is more than what many governments achieved in their full terms. So you can imagine, for example, the total 15 lakh crore rupees to be spent within this span of our 15 days. We have taken decision to utilize the 15 lakh crore in different sectors for different welfare schemes, infrastructures and other important schemes. These are unthinkable just few years ago. And then, if you see Prime Minister Modi's first decision after assuming the Prime Minister's job for the third time, the first decision he had taken was releasing 20,000 crore rupees into the accounts of 9.3 lakh farmers. So that is how the tenure began. Then in the first cabinet decision was to build 3 crore additional houses for the poor people, which the Congress could not do in their entire tenure. In the one single stroke of pen, decision was taken. Now it is already implemented. And many of the infrastructure projects are under implementation. So that is why, whether it's for women, creating 11 lakh women Lakpati Didis, and the certificates are handed over, and to spend 11,111 crore through capital expenditure, and then to ensure that the poorest of the poor give some kind of a special emphasis to ensure that they are given special care of. For example, the primitive vulnerable tribes, nobody had heard them, nobody had taken care of the welfare of these people. Modi ji heard them. So this PM Janman, which is for the vulnerable tribes, is unthinkable in the past. Then more than 1 lakh tribal students have been enrolled in the Ekalavya Model School. These are residential schools. And then build roads and infrastructure in border areas. From the youth, 2 lakh crore to be spent for creating job opportunities for the youth by giving them skill training and other important support. So I'm just giving you just nutshell of what we did.
But do you believe that the opposition perhaps has gotten under your skin, primarily because, let's take out specific examples, lateral entry being one such issue, which the government has been extremely vocal about in the past? You had to withdraw that. This many would have seen after the criticism by the leader of the opposition. Do you believe that perhaps that's the reason why there is a perception growing that the government appears to be on the back foot?
No, as I said, we are not driven by what opposition party says. We are driven by what national interest demands. All these steps taken by Prime Minister Modi ji during the first 100 days of our government is purely in the national interest. Prime Minister has given a commitment that what we used to do in last 10 years, we will do it in 3 times faster, 3 times more in every sphere. We are going to work for the people of this country.
Coalition politics really does not change the dynamics of how the government operates?
Coalition is a part of our DNA from the beginning. In the 2014.
But this is Prime Minister's first.
No, it's not that. 2014, we had a coalition government.
Right.
Of course, BJP had more numbers. But we had so many ministers, Akali Dal, Shiv Sena,
But you have to
LJP.
understand the number game is different. So does that make you feel a little uncomfortable at
It
this
doesn't
point?
matter because NDA is working like an organic family. Everybody went to election with Modi ji's poster. All the NDA partners had gone to election with the declared candidature of Modi ji as the third Prime Minister candidate. Where is the problem?
Let me also talk about the characteristic of the Modi government. Each term has been defined with, many would say, big ticket reforms, and also the fact that you have been able to fulfill the promises that have been made. Abrogation of Article 370 being one, Ram Mandir being the other. What, in your opinion, would be the characteristic of Modi 3.0? Because everyone would then be defining the government on the basis of the promise that you've made. Would it be the UCC? Is that what we are really looking at?
The third term of Modi ji's government is continuation of first term, second term, same Prime Minister, and with same attitude we are working. The only difference would be that in the third term, Modi ji will work 3 times harder than the previous 2 terms. That will be the only change. We will take stronger measures, better decision, faster execution, and will achieve much more than what we achieved in the past.
Minister Rijiju, I want to get into a little bit of specifics of your role as the Parliamentary Affairs Minister and of course the other ministry that you're handling. First, with regards to how do you deal with the opposition? It's the revival of the opposition, one would say, compared to the last 2 terms. The opposition perhaps is also hell-bent that their voice should be heard. That is the reason why in the last session what we essentially saw was a reinforced opposition. How exactly are you managing? Did it start on an acrimonious note, especially with the pro tem speaker and the fact that the decision about the deputy speaker, did it have an acrimonious start?
No, the Congress party is very irresponsible political party. They were ruling this country for such a long time. Today they are reduced to opposition party, and in third consecutive term, they could not even reach the triple digit. They could not reach the 100 mark. That's fine, it's a people's mandate. But at least they should play the role of opposition party responsibly. The first time in the history of Indian democracy, Congress boycotted the election of the pro tem speaker, the nomination process. Pro tem speaker is nominated by the government based on a selection of one of the senior member and rest are panel members. The Congress and opposition party even didn't participate in the election and the functioning of the pro tem speaker. Then they did not allow Prime Minister to speak in Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. You can just pick up the records of the Parliament. Before this 2024 budget session, has there been even a single instance where Prime Minister's speech is being disturbed? The whole opposition party came to the well of the House and stood in front of the Prime Minister, and they blocked Prime Minister from speaking. Prime Minister had to literally shout on top of the lungs to be heard. Has this happened before? This kind of irresponsible behavior by the opposition party makes them unfit even to be opposition party. Very unfortunate.
The other big issue that I wanted to perhaps put the focus on, and perhaps it's also a good time to elaborate on it, because there has been a lot of fear-mongering that has happened. On 5th of August, there was a huge speculation that was doing the rounds that yet again, this government is going to come up with a big reform. The Waqf bill, it's a critical bill that was supposed to be introduced. For the first time in 10 years, Minister Rijiju, we're looking at a critical bill like this going to the JPC. 2 arguments to that. One, from your understanding, the need to bring it now, which you've said in the past that it is already too late, it should have come in much earlier. The second is, if you had to explain it to the public, those who are watching your interview today, why the need for Waqf? Why does the nation really need it at this juncture?
See, first of all, I have heard people saying, including the journalists, that work boards in India, they own the third largest properties next to defense railways. But that is actually incorrect. The thousands of kilometers of railway tracks and railway platforms and all, these are national property. People of India use the railway tracks and all. How can you compare with the work properties? Thousands and thousands of kilometers of railway lines are government properties. People use it. Then thousands and thousands of acres of lands where defense personnel, the Indian Army, the Air Force, the Navy, they use the land to defend the country. This is not private property. How can you compare the defense and railway property with the work property? Work property is managed by the boards and they are donated by the individuals. So actually the work property in India is the largest in the world. Then Sachar committee and Rahman Khan committee and these people said that the Muslims are poor, majority of the Muslims are poor. Then the work boards own the largest property in the world. Why can't these properties be used for the poor Muslims, for women, for the children, for the weaker section amongst the Muslims? Why are they not getting benefit out of this property?
Do you believe there has been a large-scale corruption? Because some of the reports that we have also gone through and the endeavor that we have made as a journalist also is to actually see the functioning of the board itself. You have also been criticized by saying that the change that you have brought in the bill is to basically take over, seize control of the board. How do you really respond?
It's
to
not
the fact that you
actually
brought in
the
these changes?
control of the board, that is secondary. The boards must be managed through a proper mechanism. That is one of the way to make the work properties being managed in a proper scientific manner. This is what Sachar committee said, broad-based the work boards, reform the tribunal, let those people who are managing the work properties be accountable. The Sachar committee also said that the litigations which are actually eating up the work board itself should be handled in a more efficient manner. There should be transparency in the work property management. There should be proper oversight, monitoring. So many things are recommended by those committees appointed during the Congress time. We are implementing it. So if we want that work board should be managed in a much more broad-based scientific manner, everybody should welcome it.
Do you believe there is a deliberate attempt to fearmonger on this? Because if you see, the All India Muslim Personal Law Board made a statement 24 hours ago saying that over 6 crore letters have been sent across to the JPC where Muslims have been against the Waqf Amendment Bill. How would you really respond to that? That whether at all this is to target one particular community, or what is it that the ordinary Muslim actually gets from this particular amendment?
No, ordinary Muslims are coming to me and telling me that please speed up the amendment of the Waqf bill, and really, they are hopeful that the government will do something. Now, there are vested interests within the country who don't want Muslims to prosper, including some of the Muslim leaders who are actually benefiting from the present situation in the work boards. Very few people. The Congress MPs and the opposition MPs, they came to me and said that work properties are being captured by the mafias. I'm not saying it. The opposition MPs are also saying it. And then the Congress party, people like Zakir Naik, some radicals, they are moving around, broadcasting around and telling that government is trying to take away the Muslim lands. Is this country a banana republic, or this is by a rule of law? Can you take somebody's property just like that? Don't we trust the judiciary? In this country, constitutional provisions cannot be undermined, and everything is being handled under a particular rule of law. Rules are framed and you function under the rules. Can anybody just go and snatch a land which belongs to a masjid, or can anybody go and take over land of any other person?
What is the one big benefit, in your opinion, would be after the amendment is...
Once the amendment is passed and we make the act, Umeed Act, most of the properties will be managed through proper mechanism, and all those unutilized properties with the work boards will be utilized for the welfare of the poor Muslims, and the minuscule that whatever revenue they are showing now will increase multiple times. They are not earning 200 crore. Largest properties in the world not earning even 200 crore. It's like a joke. So there will be hospitals, training centers, schools, colleges, training centers, many things will come up in those valuable work properties to be managed by the Muslims only. And all the profits and proceeds will go to Muslim community only. The income from the work property will not be used by other communities. It will be for Muslim community only. So in fact, every Muslim must come forward and support it.
Right. Minister Rijiju, there's one big cause of concern, and you've already spoken about it. Radicals, fugitives like Zakir Naik, fear-mongering on this entire issue. In the course of the research, what we have come across is just not Zakir Naik, Minister Rijiju. There are several others who are now working overtime to ensure that they send across this message, so much so it has got global repercussions, that the Muslims are being targeted, the community is being constantly targeted. How do you really look at the sudden coming up of a radical fugitive like Zakir Naik? Do you believe that he's been egged upon? Do you believe that there is a larger conspiracy at play?
Yeah, it is not only people like Zakir Naik. There are many other people, including many other people inside India, are conspiring to work against India's interests. And people like Rahul Gandhi, people like many leaders in the opposition party, they are being backed by such anti-India groups. If you see Rahul Gandhi goes out to foreign countries, he moves around with anti-India people, and they are damaging India's interest. However, people of India have given their mandate, and Modi ji's leadership will ensure that these negative people cannot destroy India.
ರಾಜ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಮ್ಮಿಟ್ಗಳ ಇತಿಹಾಸದಲ್ಲೇ ಮತ್ತೊಂದು ಮೈಲುಗಲ್ಲು ಸೃಷ್ಟಿಸೋಕೆ ವೇದಿಕೆ ಸಿದ್ಧವಾಗಿದೆ. ರಿಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಕನ್ನಡ ಮಹಾಸಂಗಮ, ಇದು ಕನಸಿನ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ದಿಗ್ಗಜರ ಸಮಾಗಮ ಅತಿ ಶೀಘ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ.
We all know that love doesn't require money, but marriage, well, that's a different story altogether. And if money is becoming a problem in your marriage plans, don't worry. Today on Republic Money, I'm going to tell you about 2 government schemes that can help you out. So let's start with the first scheme, which is the intercaste marriage scheme by the central government. Through this scheme, when 2 people from different castes get married, they receive a monetary incentive of rupees 2.5 lakhs. Sounds great, right? But before you start dreaming of that extra cash, there are a few things you need to keep in mind. First, make sure your marriage is registered under the Hindu Marriage Act of 1955. Secondly, the scheme only applies to first marriages. So if you have walked down the aisle before, unfortunately, you're not eligible for this scheme. And lastly, you need to apply within 1 year of getting married to qualify for the scheme. So let's talk about the benefits. the couple receives 1.5 lakh rupees in their joint bank account, and the remaining amount is fixed as a fixed deposit for 3 years. So you will essentially be getting this amount later along with the interest. Not bad, huh? But remember, giving false information can get you into trouble. So play it straight, or you might find yourself explaining things to the cops. Finally, if this scheme sounds like it could work for you, you can download the application form from the website linked in the description below. Now, if 2.5 lakhs doesn't sound like it's enough, don't worry. The Rajasthan government has got you covered. There's something better. They're offering rupees 10 lakhs if you marry outside your caste. But as they say, with great rewards requires great eligibilities, so here are the conditions. Couples who want to avail the benefit of this must have combined income less than rupees 2.5 lakhs. Both the individuals should be under the age of 35, and also the couple should not have been convicted in any criminal case. So shady past can put you off the list, so be careful, huh? And finally, the scheme is exclusive to couples living in Rajasthan. That's a caveat we know. Now, if you qualify on all these criteria, you get rupees 5 lakhs upfront in a joint bank account, after submitting all the necessary documents, of course. Now, the other 5 lakhs you must be wondering, well, that's locked in a fixed deposit for 8 years, earning you interest all along the way. So want to read the fine print? We've given the link to the policy document in the description, so do check that out. That's all in today's video. We'll meet again in the next video with some more finance. Until then, stay happy, keep loving, and yes, don't forget to send
QS and THE, the world's foremost university rankings organizations, have ranked Amity amongst the top 3% universities globally, making it among the very few Indian universities to be included in both rankings. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
Towards the fag end of Parliament session, Rahul Gandhi putting out a video saying stock markets will crash tomorrow. because of a Hindenburg report which referred to Madhavi Buch. How do you view that?
Well, certainly there's an element of suspicion that the opposition is playing into, this kind of a disruptive politics, almost deciding hook or crook, I will have to win and Modi should be removed. For that, I'll do everything. And that is what is the game played out.
But the markets didn't respond.
No, markets did not respond. Citizens also did not respond. Otherwise, why would Modi be forming the government the third time?
Director, the taste of success.
QS and THE, the world's foremost university rankings organizations, have ranked Amity amongst the top 3% universities globally, making it among the very few Indian universities to be included in both rankings. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
We all know that love doesn't require money, but marriage, well, that's a different story altogether. And if money is becoming a problem in your marriage plans, don't worry. Today on Republic Money, I'm going to tell you about 2 government schemes that can help you out. So let's start with the first scheme, which is the intercaste marriage scheme by the central government. Through this scheme, when 2 people from different castes get married, they receive a monetary incentive of rupees 2.5 lakhs. Sounds great, right? But before you start dreaming of that extra cash, there are a few things you need to keep in mind. First, make sure your marriage is registered under the Hindu Marriage Act of 1955. Secondly, the scheme only applies to first marriages. So if you have walked down the aisle before, unfortunately, you're not eligible for this scheme. And lastly, you need to apply within 1 year of getting married to qualify for the scheme. So let's talk about the benefits. The couple receives 1.5 lakh rupees in their joint bank account, and the remaining amount is fixed as a fixed deposit for 3 years. So you will essentially be getting this amount later along with the interest. Not bad, huh? But remember, giving false information can get you into trouble. So play it straight or you might find yourself explaining things to the cops. Finally, if this scheme sounds like it could work for you, you can download the application form from the website linked in the description below. Now, if 2.5 lakhs doesn't sound like it's enough, don't worry. The Rajasthan government has got you covered. There's something better. They're offering rupees 10 lakhs if you marry outside your caste. But as they say, with great rewards requires great eligibilities, so here are the conditions. Couples who want to avail the benefit of this must have a combined income less than rupees 2.5 lakhs. Both the individuals should be under the age of 35, and also the couple should not have been convicted in any criminal case. So shady past can put you off the list, so be careful, huh? And finally, the scheme is exclusive to couples living in Rajasthan. That's a caveat we know. Now, if you qualify on all these criteria, you get rupees 5 lakhs upfront in a joint bank account, after submitting all the necessary documents, of course. Now, the other 5 lakhs you must be wondering, well, that's locked in a fixed deposit for 8 years, earning you interest all along the way. So want to read the fine print? We've given the link to the policy document in the description, so do check that out. That's all in today's video. We'll meet again in the next video with some more finance. Until then, stay happy, keep loving, and yes.
Those who are the narrative setters are saying the government has become cautious. Modi government is having to do U-turns.
And they think it's because of their charm.
No.
Excuse me.
The attempt is that the government is on its toes. It is cautious. It's on the back foot. It's easy to push the government over, which was completely against the image of the Modi government in the past.
Fanciful daydreaming. We are always kept on our toes. We need to attend to people. We need to do our jobs. We need to be literally performing that the government is seen to be functioning. This time, Lok Sabha election, people voted for a government, and a government for the third time coming to power consecutively, as much as they voted an opposition which they want them to conduct themselves like a true constructive opposition.
You've seen the comments of Rahul Gandhi. I saw a moment when